I'm 42 is the time. Now I want to talk about things rather more immediate, and that is whether or not it's acceptable for Scottish MPs, Scottish National Party MPs and MSPs, to stand at a demonstration for gender self-ID in front of signs saying decapitate TERFs. Yes, cut the heads off women who believe that biology is a real thing. Well, let's talk to Helen Joyce. She's Director of Advocacy at Sex Matters, but she's also author of the brilliant book Trans, When Ideology Meets Reality. Good morning to you, Helen.
Hi, Julia. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me. I mean, this is the key thing. This is when ideology does meet reality. This is not the first time, and it won't be the last time, where these demonstrations, supposedly pro-trans, always end up seeming to me to have at least a certain percentage of people, sometimes quite a lot of people, who actually want nothing but violence against women, standing up for women's safety.
Well, the central demand, gender self-ID, is that anyone is whatever sex they are, and that is automatically and immediately harmful to women. And so the very next act is to tell women to shut up. And if women won't shut up, you try to threaten them into silence. So it's actually at the heart of this movement. It's not some fringe. OK, so there are people who don't put it as nastily, but the central demand is women shut up. So Nicola Sturgeon did condemn that sign. She wasn't at the protest, but she did condemn it. But she also said that she condemned the way that it was expressed. So I'd like to know how you express decapitate TERFs in a way that is less offensive. You know, chop women's heads off.
Yes.
You know what?
Yeah, it is quite bizarre, isn't it? And again, it seems to be so much more acceptable. I mean, if anyone on our side of the debate, you know, arguing for women's and girls' safety to be paramount, I mean, we'd be cancelled, let's be honest, but that seems to be acceptable. There's been some reports on the Guido Fawkes website about a senior aide-in advisor in Keir Starmer's office, Matthew Doyle, who's been at the heart of Labour for a very, very long time, basically talking about Rosie Duffield, Labour MP, who's been speaking out on these issues and being really very, very dismissive of her, and basically sort of, you know, basically saying she needs to stop having lunch with JK Rowling and more time in her constituency. And this very dismissive attitude being really permeating throughout, certainly Labour politics, it does appear, that women are being told basically, shut up, stop talking about this issue.
I mean, we saw it last week in Parliament when Rosie Duffield and some other politicians like Miriam Cates spoke very movingly and very calmly and accurately, concisely, using facts about the threat that gender self-ID in Scotland poses to women and children all over the UK, in Scotland, but right across the UK. And people like Lloyd Russell Moyle, completely disgusting rant that should have seen him thrown out of the chambers and forced to apologise.
And trying to physically intimidate Tory MP.
That's right, moving over to sit beside her. You know, women like Rosie Duffield have experienced domestic violence and have experienced coercive control. And when Rosie Duffield spoke about that some years ago in Parliament, she got a standing ovation. And now she's saying that as a woman who has experienced domestic violence, she is explaining that these plans are a threat. And instead now she is being, you know, cancelled, being threatened, being abused, being tried to silence, basically, people saying she shouldn't have her seat. So it's so incredibly hypocritical, and it is within Labour, but it's within all the parties. You know, the Conservatives have been strongest on this, but some people inside the Conservative Party are also women haters.
I mean, and that's the thing. It is just misogyny, isn't it? It is quite bizarre that this happens. I mean, again, we've had Keir Starmer's office denying that anyone's briefed against Rosie Duffield, but Guido Fawkes have, you know, got Matthew Doyle on audio. They actually got him on tape. They've got a recording of him briefing against her. And I understand that he's also, you know, briefed. You know, it's also been briefed sort of rather stronger words than have actually already been published, and talking about how she is unhinged. Now, quite clearly, Rosie Duffield is not unhinged. Why is it that when women speak out, they're difficult or they're mad or hysterical?
Because we're saying things that men don't want to hear.
Well, some men, most men. No, I think most men are on our side.
I think that's correct in the sense that most men recognise that gender self-ID is idiotic, but very few men are willing to accept completely openly that most crime, most violence, most sexual crime is committed by men. It's uncomfortable even for good men. You know, they do the hashtag not all men. I know not all men. I'm saying nearly only men.
Yeah.
So it's not something that men find very comfortable in large numbers, including good men. And so they're silent. Even, you know, they don't stand up as full-throatedly as they should. Like, Keir Starmer should be absolutely all over this. The guy's a lawyer. He knows what laws mean. He knows what this law will do. I know he knows that.
Yeah,
but
and
it's
yet,
just
and yet,
not convenient.
and
for
yet,
him.
yeah, exactly. He doesn't. Always so good to talk to you, Helen Joyce. Thank you so much.